Long have we waited, and finally, Fat Shark has revealed the Vermintide 2 classes for Kerillian, the Wood Elf Waystalker, but is that really what we should be calling her now? She is, of course, the caustic, mysterious, and complex elf from Vermintide 1, with a sharp tongue, and even sharper blades, and is a fan favorite amongst many who would call themselves Skaven Slayers. A character who has seen much in her centuries of existence, who was exiled from the Eternal Wood after stumbling upon something she should not have seen, and who came to Uberstrike at the worst possible time, with the ascendance of the Skaven and a cataclysmic invasion of the Empire. Like all Wood Elves, she feels the pull of both light and dark, and is a wild and free spirit that cannot be shackled without withering away. Kerillian is mercurial at best, at once resentful of the path she's been called upon to walk, and grateful for the chance to make amends. But who knows how little it may take to topple her from that path, and that question is one that is echoed perfectly in her classes for Vermintide 2. The Waystalker, the Handmaiden, and the Shade. Very exciting choices which we'll go into in depth now, and certainly there are some very nice surprises there as well. Let's start with the Waystalker because it's the natural continuation of her Game 1 career path. We know what Waywatchers are: the guardians of the hidden paths of Athel-Loren, the silent snipers, ambushers, and marksmen from downtown who take the heads off beastmen or any intruder who happens into their beloved forest, for trespass is a crime that carries a very heavy price in the domain of the Wood Elves. Entire raiding parties and even armies are blunted or slaughtered wholesale long before they reach Athel-Loren's heartlands due to the combat prowess of the Waywatchers. But the fierce fighting in the defense of Uberstrike brought Kerillian a focus she had never known before, a desire to hone her craft to a level that far surpassed even her own considerable skill at the outbreak of the conflict. And so, she became a Waystalker, a rightly feared shadow in the night, and the Empire became her hunting ground. The Waystalker class reflects her ever-increasing skills with the bow and arrow, an archery specialist in all of its forms, whether that be pinpoint precision with a longbow, or the speed and volume of swift bow arrows flying into an oncoming horde. As with all classes in the game, the Waystalker will have a unique skill tree, and hers will focus on ranged combat, allowing the player to increase headshot damage, hold more ammo, and fire faster. One of the biggest pieces of news we got here is that the True Flight is now an ability, not its own weapon. This very powerful skill shoots 3 True Flight arrows out at once, possibly allowing you to take down multiple specials or single out a special and his buddies in the middle of a horde. And because it can be a very useful card to get out of a sticky situation when an ally is incapacitated, it's going to have a very long cooldown, essentially her ultimate to be held on for when it's really needed. Frankly, I'm kind of glad to see the True Flight go the way of the dinosaur. I think it's kind of a skillless weapon, although Fat Shark did a pretty good job of making it much more balanced than it was at launch in the later patches by keeping its ammo count very low. But I think many of us remember the early days of mindless True Flight spamming where you just went into a map and shot it repeatedly out into the wild blue yonder, and it would just home onto everything and kill everything long before they even came into view, and it wasn't a good game mechanic at all. So I don't mind seeing the True Flight get taken out of the game completely. Now it will be an ultimate ability, one that has a very long cooldown, and I think that's ultimately going to be a good change for the game. But for her second class, and perhaps the most surprising one remaining to her, Kerillian becomes a Handmaiden, influenced by the bodyguards of the Ever Queen herself. As we know, this is the end times, and Fat Shark is taking some influence from that story arc and giving the elf a class tied to each race. She's not literally a high elf here, but certainly is taking some pointers from them in her weapon choices and style of combat. As we know, the elves were not always a divided race. Millennia ago, their empire spanned the globe, ruled over by a wise Phoenix King, and the Dark Elves and Wood Elves were still under the wing of the High Elves, and they weren't known as those separate races, they were known just as the Elves. But although those times are long gone, remnants do remain. Traditions, tales, and even a few ruins. Only a few shrines remain to the Mother Goddess Isha, beyond the bounds of the 3 great elven kingdoms, and fewer still have any defenders to protect them. But Kerillian has ever fought the darkness in her soul, trusting to Lilith to guide her through those bleak times, but in the wake of Uberstrike, slaughter on a scale she had never before witnessed, and for which she felt a hidden pang of responsibility, she sought guidance of a higher power. Guided by a new voice, she came upon a long-abandoned shrine of Isha, founded in the days before the elves became divided, and gave herself over to the ways of a handmaiden. As a handmaiden, she favors melee combat, using a spear's reach to deliver death to her foes before their own weapons can strike. She will have more health than her other careers as a handmaiden. While she is certainly not a tank in any way, shape, or form, her talents and abilities will support that and her damage in close quarters combat. She can still equip all the same range weapons as the Waystalker, but they'll feel more like a secondary in this class because they're going to lack the damage and ammo increase from that other particular skill tree. She also has a dash ability here, one that allows her to move through enemies and reposition a lot, and to a much greater extent than the dodges from Vermintide 1. Now, these dashes won't actually affect enemies, unlike Kruber's charge from the Knight class, for example, where he'll bowl through enemies and stun them, but they will allow you to quickly get on the other side of an enemy to get in some backstab damage, or hit an enemy from the unshielded side before they turn around. And there have been some hints about some cool combos you can work in, like do a dodge to get to the other side of an unshielded enemy, and then pop a few headshots in from behind, or shoot them in the back. And the really cool thing is that confirmed in the screenshots, we will indeed be getting to fight over High Elf ruins, presumably on the borders of Bretonnia. The colonies from before the War of the Beard, perhaps even before the Sundering, that have wasted away over the long millennia, and they are absolutely gorgeous looking and a really flavorful addition to the game, and I'm very much looking forward to playing on that particular level. And for the third class, it had already been confirmed, but we got plenty of new information here to talk about. Kerillian will be a Shade, one of the Atari, exiles from the Tower of Doom who live an incredibly harsh existence in the frozen wilderness of Nagaroth. They hunt the darkness of the Black Spine Mountains like vengeful ghosts, preying on all who enter their domain, and if the moment or the price is right, they will sometimes accompany Dark Elf armies to war. Some travel even further afield, bringing their murderous skill to distant shores in exchange for gold or vicarious thrill. In the aftermath of Uberstrike, Kerillian's dreams were a jumbled cacophony, and one of the most lucid visions spoke of an ancestor who bore the exiled blood of Clark Horand. The dreams did not emphasize the future, but the here and the now. And through the mists of memory, a cruel voice spoke, urging her to reclaim the mantle of her forebear. As a Shade, her kill count continues on from Vermintide 1, but in glory, not in penance. And the voice that spoke to her was, of course, Cain, Lord of Murder, the elven god of war. Here, Kerillian treads an assassin's path, striking distracted foes when they're most vulnerable to her wicked blades, and she is fleet-footed death, come to claim the blood of the living. As we know, the Shade's special ability allows her to go invisible for a short duration, phasing through enemies to reposition and make her escape, or break out of invis and deal bonus damage to the back of an enemy. A critical strike mechanic has been confirmed for the game as well, as additional backstab damage has also been confirmed, so it sounds like much of her playstyle will revolve around aggroing enemies, going invisible, and then dealing a very powerful killing blow to high-value targets like Chaos Warriors or other specials with a single strike. And her skill tree will very likely reflect this and help amplify her damage in those instances, increasing critical strike and backstab damage overall. On top of all that, she has a weapon completely unique to her Shade class, the Repeater Crossbow, equipped with semi-automatic armor-piercing bolts or a burst fire mode for higher DPS, but more ammo consumption. And it sounds like this class in particular could have a pretty high skill ceiling, because just as her invisibility can get her out of sticky situations, it can also throw her right back into them if you aren't careful. Gotta be very cognizant of your positioning here, because if you put yourself into the middle of a horde and your ability times out, it's gonna be good night, sweet prince. I think Shades are going to be a lot of fun. Maybe the class I'm actually most looking forward to trying out, but I'll need to see more gameplay before I make that final decision, but I'm definitely looking forward to the Shade for sure. So in addition to all that info, most, if not all weapons besides the True Flight, will be returning from Vermintide 1. The Glaive is back, the Hagbane is back, dual daggers and sword and dagger are back, and there will be a new two-handed sword for her as well, but whether that will be the Executioner Dark Elf style, we don't know yet. I certainly hope it will be. Would be really cool to be able to customize the look of it depending on which class you choose. So the Handmaiden might get a more High Elf style, Swordmaster style weapon, while the Shade gets the Drake style, and the Wood Elf gets a different one. But yeah, the only class locked weapon might end up being the Repeater Crossbow. But overall, I am very happy with these career choices, especially with the added customization from the skill trees and weapon selections, and Kerillian has all her bases covered here. Powerful but high skill cap range combat with the Waystalker, melee prowess and mobility with the Handmaiden, and ninja backstab status with the Shade. Really nice selection, super looking forward to trying it out. And it sounds like the beta will be coming very soon as well, although the devs still need to iron out a few things before giving us a date for when that will open up. Sounds like the first wave might actually be in February, but certainly no later than March, I would think. So things are definitely ramping up. It's getting very exciting, and I'll be honest, I have not been this pumped for a game since the run-up to Warhammer 2, and before that there was a long gap before I was this excited for a game. So I'm going to play the crap out of it. Stay tuned. Tons of content on the way. Let me know what you think of Kerillian's careers. Are you liking them? Are you happy with the Handmaiden? Would you have preferred something else? Let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Indie Pride, signing out for now.